What is going on YouTube? This is Acid Root. So I've got a collaboration video with JackalGoldKick here, and basically this video is about 5 artists that we'd like to see Dr. Dre produce an album for. So the thing about this in particular is just the fact that Dr. Dre is kind of here and there with who he produces for. I mean, he's done some stuff for like Busta Rhymes, The Game, 50 Cent a little bit, definitely Eminem, those type folks. But I would have to say there's a ton of folks that he probably should have worked with, and I would have to say I'm going to list some of these. So definitely to kick this off, one of which I think he should have definitely worked with is Tech Nine. I think he's a pretty exuberant rapper, and he's definitely like a king of the underground as far as that's kind of concerned. I definitely think when you think of songs by Tech Nine, like Caribou and some of those type ones, and My World and some of those type songs, and other songs that he's had like Jelly Sickle and songs that he did off of KOD and some of that type of stuff. I definitely would love to hear Dr. Dre on some horrorcore type productions. Like Dr. Dre did produce Murder Was the Case from Snoop Dogg's Doggy Style album. So I definitely think that sort of shrouded horrorcore would be pretty magnificent to kind of see. So I definitely think Tech Nine is one that I would love to kind of see work with Dr. Dre. I think they'd be a good pairing. I know that Tech Nine's pretty low key, but I think it could turn out extremely well to kind of happen. The second one I would have to say is Young Buck. Now, Young Buck was not on G Unit terribly long, but I think he could have at least used a few more Dr. Dre beats. He did get a couple on like Buck the World and that type of stuff, but I definitely think a full album's worth of Dr. Dre beats would be pretty crazy for Young Buck. Definitely to kind of see what he could work with. Now, this would kind of be the concept. I mean, Young Buck's a pretty crazy individual, so I just would have to say if he songs by Young Buck like Get Buck and Bust Your Head and some of those type songs, if we could get a Dr. Dre beat in those type of song formats, it would definitely be pretty crazy. I just think a whole album. Buck the World was a pretty excellent album by Young Buck, so to be able to say if we could get a Young Buck album produced by Dr. Dre on that sort of tip that he was on Buck the World, that'd be definitely pretty gnarled and super, I would have to say. Number 3 for albums that I think should be produced by Dr. Dre of an artist should be Royce the 5'9". Now, Royce the 5'9" can keep up with Eminem in terms of lyrics. He definitely is a pretty like lyrical wordsmith. So I'd have to say, I mean, Royce the 5'9", that's one of his bigger complaints, kind of like with Nas and stuff, is just that he's not always on some of the best productions. But I definitely think if we could get a relapse type album from Royce the 5'9", that'd be pretty crazy. I mean, even if he were to produce like a Slaughterhouse album, if we could ever get them back together, that'd be a pretty excellent thing to do. I definitely think Royce the 5'9" would probably have like his version of like a relapse album or relapse refill or something like that. It definitely would be pretty crazy to have Royce the 5'9", especially if Royce could get like some marketable singles and that type of stuff. I would have no problem with saying that would be just an overall excellent affair. Number 4 would be Bizarre of D12. So this would definitely be pretty crazy. Bizarre's been on the occasional Dr. Dre beat, like on some of the D12 albums, but I think just how well that Bizarre meshes with horrorcore, kind of similar to Tech Nine. I think he'd be an excellent one to kind of try out. And I just would have to say, as far as that kind of goes, if we could get Bizarre and King Gordy on some songs and some of those type moments, just some songs that Bizarre does, like Fat Boy or Rockstar, some of those type moments, and get like a Dr. Dre produced single, get like some Eminem verses on there, some stuff like that. That'd probably be one of Bizarre's best albums overall. I just think it'd be a very excellent thing. And then the 5th person I would have to say that could use a Dr. Dre album would be T.I. I definitely think T.I. did like a little bit of stuff with Dr. Dre when he worked on Detox with him. That stuff never came out. And I definitely think T.I. with his swag rap type feelings would be great to see because T.I. is a pretty stylish dude. So I definitely think he'd work pretty well. It'd be a different emphasis. I don't know if it would be a different emphasis. I don't know if it'd be as many carnivorous type songs, stuff like that. I think he's a little bit more laid back compared to some of these other folks, but I would have to say it'd be pretty sophisticated and it would definitely be pretty blue-blooded and eloquent. I just would have to say it'd be an awesome thing to kind of see T.I. in some like sophistication as far as that's kind of concerned. Just some really graceful Dr. Dre beats and even some carnivorous ones and trap type beats. This is the sort of trap like the original 2000s trap that kicked off in like the mid 2000s, early mid 2000s. Hearing T.I. on like some Detox type beats would be pretty awesome. So that's kind of the thing about it. So yeah, those are my 5 ones, and I would have to say also, so this thumbnail is by Yusef Tajra, and I would have to say he has a pretty awesome thumbnail, so look into hitting him up on Fiverr if you like what you see here. So I'd have to say, apart from that, yeah, this is JackalGoldKick's part, and yeah.
What's up YouTube, it's JackalGoldKick, and I'm here with Acid Rootz, and we're going to be doing a collaboration video talking about 5 rappers we would like to see Dr. Dre produce an album for. So this is a fun video topic that I came up with, something fun that we could talk about, wish list kind of thing. We're basically going to be talking about 5 rappers that we would like to see Dr. Dre produce an album for, rappers that never really crossed paths with Dr. Dre before, or at least they haven't had a single album produced by Dr. Dre. That's what we're going to be talking about in this collaboration video. So let's do this. When it comes to Dr. Dre, he's definitely one of the best producers of all time. He's signed very good talent. He's brought the best in a lot of rappers, and he's made some of the best beats of all time. He's one of the best producers of all time, and he's really contributed to do a lot of good for rap and hip-hop music in general. And he's just one hell of a producer, definitely one of my favorite producers of all time. And I would love to see him cross paths and work with these 5 rappers I'm going to talk about, and who I would love to see Dr. Dre produce an album for. So let's do this. My number 5 choice is going to be Ludacris. Now, Ludacris is definitely a dope rapper. He's got a really distinctive voice. He's got a really good rap flow. He has really good music, really good songs. Just a hell of a rapper, someone I grew up listening to, and Ludacris is definitely a dope rapper. And I think it would be very interesting to see Ludacris have an album get produced by Dr. Dre. I think it would be very interesting, and I would love to see what Ludacris and Dr. Dre would be able to cook up together. The only thing they did together was like some kind of, it was something that was meant for Detox that was leaked. That's like the only time they've crossed paths from what I saw. So I would love to see Dr. Dre produce an album for Ludacris. I would like to see what they'd be able to do together and how it would go. It would be very interesting because Ludacris is a dope rapper. He's got really good flows, a really good rap voice, really good songs. He's had some really good albums, and he's a very distinctive rapper. He has a lot of originality, and it would just be really interesting to see what Ludacris and Dr. Dre would be able to cook up together, and just what it would sound like if Dr. Dre and Ludacris worked together and we got a full-length Ludacris album produced by Dr. Dre. That would be really cool. It would also be interesting to see what kind of features would be on there, since Dr. Dre would be involved. It would just be also interesting to see what Ludacris would sound like and what he would rap like and all that stuff on Dr. Dre type beats, and just how it would sound overall. So that's my number 5 choice, Ludacris. Would love to see that happen. So my number 4 choice is going to be Kid Cudi. Now, Kid Cudi is a dope rapper. He's someone I would liked a lot. He's made some really good music. I definitely like Kid Cudi. I've liked a lot of his albums. He makes really good music, and I really like Kid Cudi. And I think it would be very interesting to see Kid Cudi and Dr. Dre work together. That would be something interesting to see as well, because Kid Cudi is a stoner. He's at least smoked weed in the past. Dr. Dre's talked about weed. He has weed rapper friends like, Snoop Dogg. He has he has an album called The Chronic, and since he's been involved with weed, Kid Cudi's been involved with weed, and since Kid Cudi's worked with at least Snoop Dogg, I think it would make a lot of sense for like Kid Cudi and Dr. Dre to work together to see what they could do together. And I would definitely like to see it, because Kid Cudi has a very different, distinctive style. He's kind of a singer at times and a melody rapper, but he's still a rapper. And I would love to see what Kid Cudi and Dr. Dre would be able to cook up together if they linked up and did something together. It would be very interesting to see Dr. Dre have an album be made and produced for Kid Cudi where it's Dr. Dre beats. I would like to see that happen. It would be interesting. It'd be interesting to see what they would do together. It'd be interesting to see how Kid Cudi would sound on Dr. Dre beats, what kind of songs they would make. The features would be interesting, and it could make for a classic album most likely, and it would be just dope music overall. And I would definitely like to see it, because Kid Cudi is a very good artist. He makes really good music. He makes a lot of catchy songs. He's a very good rapper, very good melody rapper. He makes weed rap sometimes too. And since Dr. Dre's made weed rap, and since he's good friends with Snoop Dogg and Kid Cudi's worked with Snoop Dogg, I think it would make a lot of sense for this to happen. So my number 4 choice is definitely going to be Kid Cudi. Dr. Dre's beats are very good, and Kid Cudi can make good melodies. And I think if you were to get like Kid Cudi's kind of melodies and catchiness for like Day and Night and stuff, and you were to mix that with Dr. Dre's production, you could get something really classic and really outstanding. So I would love to see Dr. Dre produce an album for Kid Cudi, and I would like to see what they could do together, and I think it would be extraordinary, and it would just be cool to see overall, and I would definitely like to see that. So that's my number 4 choice, Kid Cudi. Would love to see that happen. So my number 3 choice is going to be Hopsin. I think Hopsin would be awesome to see get an album produced for by Dr. Dre. Because Hopsin's a really good rapper. He's dope as hell. He has some really good music. Definitely one of the better rappers of nowadays. He's definitely a talented rapper. You know, he's similar to Eminem, but still has his own style. And I would love to see Hopsin work together with Dr. Dre. That would be very interesting. There's two reasons I think that could work really well. One, because he's already similar to Eminem, and Dr. Dre's worked with Eminem, so that would already work. And two, Hopsin is from California as well, just like Dr. Dre. So not only does Hopsin sound similar to Eminem or have like a similar style to him at least, and he's also from California, much like Dr. Dre, I think it would work really well. You know, Hopsin's a dope rapper, dope artist. Dr. Dre's a dope producer. You know, Hopsin has a similar style to Eminem. He's from California, so I would love to see Hopsin and Dr. Dre hook up and make some kind of music together and see what they could cook up together. I would definitely like to see that. It would be very interesting to see Dr. Dre produce an album for Hopsin, to see what we could get, you know, to see what Hopsin would sound like on Dr. Dre beats, what kind of features would be on there. It would just be interesting overall to see, you know, what Hopsin could create and what he could sound like if he had an entire album produced by Dr. Dre. I would love to see that, and I think it would work and fit really well because Hopsin has some similarities to Eminem, and he's from California, as well as Dr. Dre. He's from California. So I think it would be very interesting, and I would love to see them link up and make an album together. So that's my number 3 choice, and it would be killer to see. I mean, imagine if we got that, and then we got like a song with Hopsin and Eminem produced by Dr. Dre. Like, that's like the ultimate collab wish right there. I would love to see that shit. And, you know, since Eminem is influenced for Hopsin, you know, it would be great. So we could maybe even get something like that. So yeah, my number 3 choice is Hopsin. He's a dope rapper, he's a dope artist, and he would really shine and probably make one of his best albums of all time if he was to work with Dr. Dre and get something produced by Dr. Dre. I think it would work really well. I think it would make a lot of sense. So my number 2 choice is going to be Royce da 5'9". Now, Royce da 5'9", I've done a video on this guy before. Royce da 5'9" is definitely a talented rapper. I really like it when he works with Eminem. He's made some good songs with him. But on his own, Royce da 5'9" is definitely inconsistent when it comes to music. I've liked some songs by Royce da 5'9", like Rock City, Boom, and like Security and stuff, but for the most part, Royce da 5'9" doesn't really have an outstanding, strong track record with music, especially his solo albums. And I think something that would really help Royce da 5'9", what could finally give him a classic album and just truly shine and just really give him something musically memorable, is if he got something produced by Dr. Dre. I would love to see Royce da 5'9" and Dr. Dre work together, and I would really like to see what Royce da 5'9" would be able to do if he was given an entire album with Dr. Dre production. I would love to see that, you know, and since Dr. Dre's a perfectionist and he brings out the best in people, I have a feeling he would bring out the best in Royce da 5'9". I mean, I know in the past, Royce and Dr. Dre had issues when Royce had beef with D12 and stuff, but since Royce is cool now with Eminem, he should be able to, I think he should be cool now with Dr. Dre maybe as well. So, yeah, my number 2 choice is Royce da 5'9". Royce da 5'9" is definitely a good rapper, but I think his music, at least solo albums, could be a lot better. I think he could do with having a better track record of music, and I've always wanted to just see something really amazing from Royce da 5'9", because I like him as a rapper. I think he's a good rapper. I think he can rap really well. You know, I like when he works with Eminem. I liked him with Bad Meets Evil. You know, he's got some good moments, and like I said, I especially love him in Bad Meets Evil. He's one of the few rappers that can keep up with Eminem, and he works really well with Eminem, but just on his own, in terms of his solo albums and his solo music, Royce da 5'9" just isn't really that good when it comes to that. It's not one of his strong suits. Is his own music and own solo albums isn't really that good, and he just needs more consistency with better music. You know, it's something I've noticed with Royce da 5'9" solo wise, is he just doesn't really have the best track record. And I think that if you were to get Dr. Dre to produce an album for Royce da 5'9", you could really get something extraordinary. You would finally give Royce da 5'9" a classic album, a outstanding album, and it would give Royce da 5'9" a chance to finally shine, because he's a talented rapper and he can definitely rap, but all he needs is something like a Dr. Dre to really push his music forward and improve a lot of the mistakes with his music. Because I think some of the problems with Royce da 5'9"'s music is like his production, maybe song topics, but a lot of the issues with his music is definitely his production. So my number 2 choice is Royce da 5'9". I would love to see Dr. Dre produce an album for Royce da 5'9". It would be very interesting to see what they could cook up together, how Royce da 5'9" would sound on some Dr. Dre beats, what kind of features there would be, how it would come out musically, and I would just love to see it overall, because I think Royce da 5'9", could make a classic and could really improve his music if he were to be given an album with some Dr. Dre production and he could rap on it. And you got Dr. Dre involved. He's a perfectionist. He likes to bring out the best in people. And I just think it would be the perfect chance to give Royce da 5'9" finally a good, outstanding album and actually a classic. And I would love to see it happen. I would fucking love to see Royce da 5'9" get an album produced by Dr. Dre. It would improve his track record. It would finally give him a nice body of work and a nice classic. And it would probably improve his sound overall. And I would love to see it because Royce da 5'9" is already a talented rapper, but he just needs something to give him a push to make more consistent, better music. And I think that if you were to get Dr. Dre to work with Royce da 5'9" and give him a produced album, you could really get something extraordinary. And it would really improve Royce da 5'9"'s track record. I mean, the closest thing we got to that was like 2 songs that were meant for the Chronic, the original version of Explosive with Royce and Dr. Dre, and then the song that didn't make it on the Chronic called, I think, Watch the Throne or something like that. It's a song with Royce da 5'9". It's produced by Dr. Dre. That song doesn't have the best quality because it was like a leaked song, but that is like the closest we got to this, and it sounded very interesting. Royce sounded really good on that Dr. Dre beat, and he sounded really good on the original version of Explosive, which makes me really want to see this, and I would love to see this happen. I think it would be amazing. I think it would be extraordinary. It would just be interesting overall, and I would love to see it. So that's my number 2 choice. And like I said, the closest we got to this, like I said, is the original version of Explosive, and then the song Watch the Throne or whatever it's called, where Royce da 5'9"'s rapping on it and Dr. Dre produced it. It was a song meant for the Chronic 2001, but it didn't make it on there because him and Royce had a beef or had a falling out and around the time that D12 had beef with Royce da 5'9". My number 1 choice, and this is going to be like a huge pipe dream, huge wish list one because this rapper never got famous, but a man can dream, especially since this guy's my favorite rapper of all time personally. So my number 1 choice is going to be JB. I would love to see JB get an album produced for by Dr. Dre. I'm a huge fan of JB. He's probably my favorite rapper of all time. I love his music. He's a dope rapper from California. He's got some similarities to Eminem, but still has his own style and his own. I love JB. He has great music. He raps over some really good songs. He makes some great beats himself. He's a good producer on his own. And JB is just a really good rapper overall. Definitely my favorite rapper. One of the better rappers of nowadays. Very talented, a very good rapper. He makes really good music, and he's just a good MC and a good rapper overall, and I really like JB. He makes great music, and I love his music, and I think it would be fucking awesome to see JB and Dr. Dre work together, to see what Dr. Dre and JB would be able to cook up, and I think it would work really well because JB has similarities to Eminem, and he's from California, much like Dr. Dre, and he's made California-type music that Dr. Dre would make, and JB's a big fan of West Coast rap, and he likes Dr. Dre and that kind of stuff, and he grew up on West Coast rap, so I think it would fit really well, and it would make a lot of sense to get JB and Dr. Dre to work together, and I would love to see what JB would be able to do if he had an entire album produced by Dr. Dre for him. That would be fucking awesome. I would love to see what JB would sound like, what he'd be able to create on Dr. Dre beats, what kind of features we would get, and it would just be awesome overall, and I think it would work really well because JB is from California, just like Dr. Dre. He's made California-type music, just like Dr. Dre. He's got similarities to Eminem. It would just be a perfect match, and I think it would fit really well. So that's my number 1 choice, JB. I would absolutely love to see him get an album produced for by Dr. Dre. Would love to see JB and Dr. Dre work together and see what they could do together. I know it probably would never happen because JB is an underground artist. He's not that famous, but a man can dream, you know, and I would love to see it. It would be fucking cool to see JB and Dr. Dre work together, and I think it would make a lot of sense. They could make some really good music together, and I would love to see it. So that's it for my part of this collab. Those are my 5 choices for 5 rappers I would like to see Dr. Dre produced an album for as a part of this collaboration. Was some extra things I forgot to mention that it'd be cool to see these rappers like with Ludacris. Like I said, it would be cool to see what kind of features he would do. You could get like Eminem on there, 50 Cent, you know, G Unit, things like that. That would be really cool and interesting. With Kid Cudi, you could get some Snoop Dogg stuff, The Game, Eminem, G Unit, you know, basically Dr. Dre type artists working with Kid Cudi on a Dr. Dre produced album. That could be cool. And like for Hobson, like I would love to see Eminem and G Unit and 50 Cent and The Game and people like that on that album that is produced by Dr. Dre. That would be really cool in terms of features and anything else I could do, like Exhibit or something. And then like for Royce da 5'9", I would love to see, in terms of features, I would love to see like Eminem, Dr. Dre, 50 Cent, The Game, G Unit. People like that I would love to see on a Royce da 5'9" album, as well as the Dr. Dre beats. And then for JB, in terms of features, I would love to see like Eminem, G Unit, 50 Cent, The Game, Dr. Dre, Snoop Dogg, Ice Cube, etc. I would definitely like to see it. So yeah, so that's all I really have to say on my part. Let us know what rappers you would like to see Dr. Dre produce an album for that hasn't happened. I'd be interested, because this is something that would have a lot of different answers and a lot of different choices, because there's a lot of good rappers out there, and it's kind of a hard one to do because there's a lot of other people I could have picked. Some other people I could have picked like Novi Novak. I could have picked like Deuce. I could have picked like Ice Cube. I could have picked like DMX and people like that. There's a lot of choices out there for sure. So that's all I got to say in this part. Peace.